So ladies and gentlemen, a big hand. We have Gagan, Gill, Tishani, Doshi, Sheniz, Janmohamed, Jeet, Thayil. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? We get some volume? Yes. Great pleasure to be here. Great pleasure to be on the stage with these wonderful poets. It's not often poets get such a large audience, so it's a real pleasure to see you out here today. I'm going to introduce, the way we're going to format this is I will introduce Tishani, she will introduce the next poet, and so on. And we will read for about 7 or 8 minutes each, and at the end of that, there will be time for questions. And that's simple, and that's the format. It's a great pleasure to introduce Tishani Doshi. Her first book of poems won the Forward Prize. It was called Countries of the Body. And it was very clear with that book that this was a poet who was interested in form, and in the rigors and the severities of form. And her new book is, I think she will be reading from that book this evening. It's a flowering of the promise in the first book. Tishani is also a formidable dancer. She trained under Chandralekha, the iconic Indian choreographer and dancer, for 5 years, and anybody who's seen a performance by her knows exactly how unforgettable those performances are. Great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, Tishani Doshi.
Thank you. I'm going to begin with a poem called Walking Around. It's after a poem by Neruda. In Neruda's poem, he says, "It happens that I'm tired of being a man, and there are days when I feel so tired of being a woman." This is not one of those days, but I'm going to read the poem anyway. Walking Around. It happens that I'm tired of being a woman. It happens that I cannot walk past country clubs or consulates without considering the hags, skinny as guitar strings, foraging in the rubbish. All along the streets, there are forlorn mansions where girls have grown up and vanished. I am vanishing too. I want nothing to do with gates, nor balconies, nor flat-screen TVs. It happens that I am tired of my veins and my hips and my navel and my sorrows. It happens that I am tired of being a woman. Just the same, it would be joyous to flash my legs at the drivers playing chess, to lead the old man at house 38 onto the tarred road, to lie down under the laburnum dripping gold. I do not want to keep growing in the skin, to swell to the size of a mausoleum. I do not want to be matriarch or mother. Understand, I am only in love with these undrunk breasts. And when Monday arrives with the usual battalion of pear-shaped wives who do battle in grocery store aisles, I will be stalking the fields of concrete and ash, the days pushing me from street to street, leading me elsewhere, to houses without ceiling fans, where daughters disappear and the walls weep. I will weep too, for high-heeled beauty queens, for sewing machines and chickens in cages. I will walk with my harness and exiled feet through cravings and renunciations, through heaps of midnight wreckages, where magistrates of crows gather to sing the same broken song of unforgiving loss. The next poem I'll read is, well, some years ago I was asked to write a poem to respond to a piece of art, and I was in London at the time, and I went into the Tate Museum, and I chose a sculpture by Alberto Giacometti, and I don't know how many of you know his work, but they're very thin, emaciated figures, and I wanted to write about that because in my mind, this woman it was called the Walking Woman, and she had no head and no arms, but she was walking somewhere. And so I wanted to understand how that reconciled with my images of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, of the very full-figured women, and this very modern idea of woman that was very thin. So this is a dialogue, if you please, between the ancient women and maybe a woman of today. And it's called Ode to the Walking Woman. Sit, you must be tired of walking, of losing yourself this way, a bronzed rib of exhaustion thinned out against the dark. Sit, there are still things to believe in, like civilizations and birthing and love, and ancestors who move like silent tributaries from red-earthed villages with history cradled in their mythical arms. But listen, what if they swell through the gates of your glistening city? Will you walk down to the water's edge, immerse your feet till you can feel them dancing underneath? Mohenjo-daro's brassy girls with bangled wrists and cinnabar lips, turbaned Harappan mothers standing wide on terracotta legs, egg-breasted Artemis, Inanna, Ishtar, Cybele, clutching their bounteous hearts in the unrepentant dark, crying, "Daughter, where have the granaries and great baths disappeared? Won't you resurrect yourself, make love to the sky, reclaim the world?" This poem is called The Art of Losing, and it was inspired by an American poet whom I admire greatly, Elizabeth Bishop. And I guess it's about loss and how we deal with it. The art of losing. All our lives, we are taught to let go, as if loss were inevitable and things replaceable. It begins with the death of the childhood pet, the dog who refuses to eat for days, the bird or fish found sideways dead. And you think the hole in the universe caused by the emission of your grief is so deep it will never be rectified. But it's only the start of an endless litany of betrayals, the cruelty of school, your first bastard boyfriend, the neighbor's son going slowly mad. You catch hold of losing, and suddenly it's everywhere. The beggars in the street, the ravage of a distant war in your sleep. And when grandfather hobbles up to the commode to relieve himself like a girl without bothering to shut the door, you begin to realize what it means to exist in a world without. People around you grow old and die, and it's explained as a kind of going away to God or rot or to return as an ant, depending on the spiritual way you were raised. And once again, you're expected to be calm about the fact that you'll never see the dead again, never hear them enter a room or leave it, never have them touch the soft parting of your hair. Let it be your parents' advice. It's nothing. Wait till your favorite aunt keels over in a shopping mall, or the only boy you loved drives off a cliff to survive but never to walk again. That'll really do you in, make you want to slit your wrists, in a metaphorical way, of course, because you're strong and know that life is about surviving these things. And almost all of it would be bearable if it would just end at this. But one day your parents will sneak into the garden to stand under the stars and fade like the lawn into a mossy kind of gray. And you must let them. Not just that, you must let them fall into that same oblivion, pass up your paper wings and fall as if it were nothing, as if it were nothing. And I'll read one last poem before Gagan reads. It's a poem which needs no explanation. It's called Love Poem. Ultimately, we will lose each other to something. I would hope for grand circumstance, death or disaster, but it might not be that way at all. It might be that you walk out one morning after making love to buy cigarettes and never return, or I fall in love with another man. It might be a slow drift into indifference. Either way, we'll have to learn to bear the weight of the eventuality that we will lose each other to something. So why not begin now, while your head rests like a perfect moon in my lap and the dogs on the beach are howling? Why not reach for the seam in this South Indian night and tear it just a little so the falling can begin? Because later, when we cross each other on the streets and are forced to look away, when we've thrown the disregarded pieces of our togetherness into bedroom drawers, and the smell of our bodies is disappearing like the sweet decay of lilies, what will we call it when it's no longer love? Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce our next poet, Gagan Gill, who is a critically acclaimed Hindi poet. She has written 4 books of poetry and 2 books of essays. Yesterday, she presented her Buddhist poems, and today she tells me that she will be reading her non-Buddhist poems. So, Gagan Gill.
I hope it maybe a little. Yeah, this is good. Well, I was quite impressed by Tishani's memory, that she could recite her poems without looking at the page, but you'll have to bear my side. I'll read my first poem in English translation as well as Hindi original, and then I'll move to all my original poems in Hindi. Every love. When it arrives on your doorstep, the first thing every love asks is, can you jump from the window for me? Can you stab your heart for me? Every love asks this. Can you fly with me with only the stumps of your arms? When love arrives on your doorstep, it won't leave soon. It has to go to some mountain or a valley, to an ocean or a river. It comes to your house out of the blue and wants to know if you will come along to drown with it or no. Every love gives you enough time to die for it. हर प्रेम सबसे पहले यही पूछता है तुम्हारी चौखट तक आकर, क्या तुम मेरे लिए कूद सकते हो खिड़की से नीचे? कर सकते हो क्या तुम छलनी अपना सीना? हर प्रेम पूछता है यही, उड़ सकते हो क्या मेरे साथ ठूंठ अपने कंधों से? प्रेम जब आता है तुम्हारी चौखट तक तो जल्दी चले जाने के लिए नहीं, उसे जाना होता है किसी पर्वत या घाटी की तरफ, समुद्र या नदी की तरफ। वह बिना किसी पूर्व योजना के आ निकलता है तुम्हारे घर की तरफ और जानना चाहता है तुम उसके साथ डूबने चल रहे हो कि नहीं। प्रेम तुम्हें भली भांति मरने की पूरी मोहलत देता है। सिर्फ एक दिन वह नहीं सोचेगी तुम्हारे बारे में। सिर्फ एक दिन वह नहीं सोचेगी तुम्हारे बारे में और मछलियां भूल जाएंगी जल के भीतर अपना रास्ता। टंगा रह जाएगा जलता सूर्य निरुपाय सौर मंडल में, फंस जाएगी समय की नाल गिर्द अपने ही कंठ के। सिर्फ एक दिन वह स्मृतिहीना रखेगी अपना दिया सूर्य और चंद्र के बीच और चिंतित हो जाएंगे आकाश में सप्तऋषि। झरने लगेंगे अक्षर टूटकर लिपियों से, भूल जाएंगे जीव अपने मुख और दर्पण कहीं न होंगे। सिर्फ एक दिन क्षण भर को तुम ओझल होगे उससे दैवी कुहेलिका में और छा जाएगा अंधकार ब्रह्मांड के अंत तक। घुमड़ने लगेंगे लावे पृथ्वी के अंतर में, घोंगे जल उठेंगे अपने खोल के भीतर कई मीलों तक। सिर्फ एक दिन के विस्मरण में नीली पड़ जाएगी यह देह अपने ही कांटे से। थोड़ी सी उम्मीद चाहिए, थोड़ी सी उम्मीद चाहिए, जैसे मिट्टी में चमकती किरण सूर्य की, जैसे पानी में स्वाद भीगे पत्थर का, जैसे भीगी हुई रेत पर मछली में तड़पन। थोड़ी सी उम्मीद चाहिए, जैसे गूंगे के कंठ में याद आया गीत, जैसे हल्की सी सांस सीने में अटकी, जैसे कांच से लिपटे कीट में लालसा, जैसे नदी की तह में डूबी हुई प्यास। थोड़ी सी उम्मीद चाहिए। एक सांस आए, एक सांस जाए, एक सांस आए एक सांस जाए, बीच में दरिया डुबकी लगवाए। एक सांस अटके एक सांस भटके, पिंजरे में मैना सिर रह रह कर पटके। एक सांस गुमसुम एक सांस बड़बड़, नींद चाहे छूटे ना सपना तो टूटे। एक सांस सूखी एक सांस बिरहन, एक सांस विनती एक सांस मिन्नत, एक सांस तपती एक सांस ठंडी, वही सांस मिट्टी वही सांस जन्नत। एक सांस दरिया, एक सांस दरिया एक सांस मरुथल, उसी में तूफान आया उसी में बवंडर। चिट्ठी, ये मेरी आखिरी कविता है। चिट्ठी खटखटाती है दरवाज़ा बाहर से, और तुमसे कुंडी नहीं खुलती अपने एकांत की। चिट्ठी खटखटाती है दरवाज़ा बाहर से, और तुमसे कुंडी नहीं खुलती अपने एकांत की। तुम इतने अरसे से बंद हो वहाँ कि तुम्हें यह भी नहीं मालूम तुम भीतर से बंद हो कि बाहर से। तुम इतने अरसे से बंद हो वहाँ कि जंग लग चुकी है कुंडी में। चिट्ठी दरवाज़ा खटखटाती है और तुम कहते हो दरवाज़ा खोल लो बाहर से। अव्वल तो चिट्ठी तुम्हारी आवाज़ सुन नहीं पाती, सुन भी लेती है उसे सुझाई नहीं पड़ता कुंडी कहाँ है। हर हताश चिट्ठी तुम्हें चेतावनी देती है, इसके बाद नहीं आऊँगी। तुम्हारा हर अनुत्तर तुम्हें वहाँ फेंकता है जहाँ तुम पहले से ही बंद हो। कोई चिट्ठी तुमसे कभी यह नहीं पूछती तुम यूँ बंद कैसे हो गए आखिर। कोई चिट्ठी तुमसे कभी यह नहीं पूछती तुम यूँ बंद कैसे हो गए आखिर। हर चिट्ठी उम्मीद के लिफाफे में बंद है और लिफाफा फटा हुआ है। And now I look forward to listening to Sheniz Janmohamed, who writes ghazals in English. She published her first book, Bleeding Light, and she's a spoken word artist.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's an honor to share the stage with such illustrious poets. It has been a dream of mine for a long time to be here in Jaipur, and I'm so grateful to the organizers for agreeing to have me here. So I wanted to read you a poem I've never read before. It's brand new. Break the bones in the body who breaks the bones of women. Break the bones in the body who breaks the bones of women. Your black milk flows into the mouths of men who dare to trample women. Queen of the night, you have birthed dusk from dawn, diamond from coal. You carry the weight of life, breathing fire into the breasts of women. Your trident is our spine, Your hue is the bottomless ocean in our wombs. Every strand of your hair is a quill, pricking the wells in the hearts of women. O three-eyed warrior, fierce and loving, you see everything beyond sight. Your necklace clanks with skulls. You are the dark mother in all women. We embrace your ebony shadow. Our skin gleams black like hematite. Bleeding with rage and renewal, we rewrite stories men have written for women. Change your clothes, keep your eyes down, stop tempting men with your looks. We reject poison from their foaming mouths, tar that once stuck to the ribs of women. Kalima, your tongue hangs from our tongues. We refuse to keep our mouths shut. I will scream until my throat burns. We were not born to simply woo men. The next poem is called A Bluebird's Wing. And where I'm from in Canada, right now we're facing an environmental crisis. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of the tar sands in Alberta, but it's affecting the First Nations Aboriginal people. And what they do is they extract oil from sand. It's called bitumen. And they take tons and tons of water to do this, and it's stripping the land of its nutrients. So I wrote this as a response to that. Geese fly back before the snow falls. January is the new spring. If April is the cruelest month, how can winter rival an eternal spring? With words etched into his skin, he extracts letters from his fingers. She fans herself with his love letter, folded like a bluebird's wing. The crow is a keeper of the sacred law, but you deem it evil. If one crow is the ink of death, what will a murder of crows bring? Steamrollers flatten the soil, fish bones are coated with bitumen. What melodies will our rivers remember if songbirds forget how to sing? So I have no access to my ancestral language, and this is why I write in English. And this is my humble attempt, Bleeding Light, to write ghazals, or at least poems inspired by ghazals, in English. So I wanted to share one of these with you. Stone to sapphire. The fragrance between your fingers is the smoke of my entire being. The fragrance between your fingers is the smoke of my entire being. Let me burn in the flames of your intoxication. I am nothing but fire. From your hands, rose petals fall. Where is the garden of your splendor? I search the soil at your feet and find nothing, but the seeker will never tire. Your imperfections are beautiful in their imperfection. This is perfection. There is alchemy in your honeyed eyes. One glance and stone turns to sapphire. Others ask for proof. I do not need to see the crown to know the king exists. What is seen is unseen. Each galaxy is a pearl strung into the necklace of our sire. My people killing my people. My people killing my people. My people killing my people. My people killing me. The shadows approached me and told me to take their hands, that they would lead me to the promised land. And when we reached the valley of unbearable sighs, I realized they had told me lies. The bombs blew up inside of me because I was too blind to see that they used pain to gain my loyalty. Far from my dreams to be free, they sat me down, stole my crown, and tortured me. The very people who said they'd save me, the very people who opened the doors, threw out the keys. My people killing my people, my people killing my people, my people killing me. And as I stood on the shores and spoke back, they tore up my heart and continued the attack. And now for my words, they've thrown me in jail, slapped, stamped, silenced, convicted with no bail. They say I betrayed their trust, and killing their own is just. They say they read on behalf of the book, like killing a child without a second look. And so I said to them, you may take me and you may rape me to silence me, but I continue to speak. You are not the strong. I am not the weak. My people killing my people. My people killing my people, my people killing me. They think that they're the predators, but they're really the prey. And the day will come when they will have to face all the souls they've killed in this place. The time has come. Do you see them coming? I hear their footsteps, but I do not fear. I hear the screams, but I do not fear. For I know my words will echo in the newborn's ear. Any last words before we shoot you in the head? You may kill me, but I refuse to be dead. My people killing my people. My people killing my people. My people killing me. And now I'd like to introduce our final poet for the evening, Jeet Thayil. We can say many things about him, but he requested that I keep his biography short. He won the Satya Academy Award this year for his collection, These Errors Are Correct. And now I give you Jeet Thayil.
Really is a pleasure to be here. And if this was if this exact same thing was happening in Bombay, we would have about 15 people and we'd be very grateful. If it was happening in Delhi, we would have about 50 people and we'd be very grateful. This could only happen in Jaipur. Thank you. I'm going to start with a poem called Letter from a Mughal Emperor, 2006. It's an unnamed Mughal emperor speaking to the world of the 21st century. And I'm sure you'll figure out who it is. There's only one Mughal emperor who is also a poet. Nothing here is worth a tick. I hid everything except the heads. They respect slaughter. They respect only slaughter. They forget the other things we brought them, the ghazals, the gardens, the ice and symmetry. It's an affliction to grow up motherless with your lady mother living beside you. They have many images, but they have no God. They're fit only for war. Even the dogs are second-rate. In Tashkent, I had no money, no country, or hope of one, only humiliation. But among the people, I found much beauty. No pairs are better. There are no accidents, there's only God. Tending to his doves on the eve of battle, my father flew into a ravine at the fortress of Oxy. He became a falcon, I became emperor. Sometimes when I eat a Kabul melon, I remember my father and you. I've forgotten more than I've seen, but I have not forgotten enough. There's only one way to live in a place like this, with your disgust close at hand. One night I took Majun because the moon was shining. The next day I took some more at sunrise. I enjoyed wonderful fields of flowers, flowers on all sides. I saw an apple sapling with 5 or 6 leaves placed regularly on each branch. No painter could have done this. I made a schedule. Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for wine, the other days for opium. Your letter puzzled me. The people are caught between constant spiritual anguish and a faith that will give meaning to the question that consumes them, the dual substance of Krishna, the yearning of man to know God, between the spirit and the flesh, a great unwinnable war. Dear friend, write clearly, with plain words. Writing badly will make you ill. Once, in an orchard, I was sick with fever and vision. I was young, but I prepared myself. 100 years or a day, in the end, you will leave this place. Long ago, my father's eyes looked into mine, I think with love. Now, we speak of ghazals, of metrics and rhyme, or of our most famous massacres. When he conquered Lahore, he planted a banana tree. It thrived even in that climate. His memory is so good, it gives him a second life. Mine gives only a partial one. It's no more than I need. A very short poem about religion called The 2000s. In the end, it took so little to do us in. The imaginative use of fuel, the fuzzy grammar of this or that group of logicians, gifts of money to the strongest among us. Who could resist those voices raised in unison? Travel broadens nothing, the great martyr said, except your tan. It was the official position, broadcast without commercial interruption every evening at 6. The time for lyricism had passed. Also, kissing, sculpture, coq au vin, the tango, and other items of behavior too commonplace to mention. They had G-D on their sides. We had fear. Same difference, you might have said. I kept a wet finger to the wind. Depending on who was winning, I shaved or I didn't. Blue ghazal. I'll give you another one. I'll give you Malayalam's ghazal. Listen, Malayalam's ghazal. A bit of a dangerous thing to do because, you know, the words Malayalam and ghazal are not meant to go together, but they do. My apologies, not really. Listen, someone's saying a prayer in Malayalam. He says, there's no word for despair in Malayalam. Sometimes at daybreak, you sing a Gujarati garba. At night, you open your hair in Malayalam. To understand symmetry, understand Kerala. The perfect palindrome is there in Malayalam. If you've been too long in the rooms of English, open your hair to the fresh air of Malayalam. Visitors are welcome to the school of lost tongues. My father, who recites Baudelaire in Malayalam. Jeet, such drama with the scraps you know. Write a couplet, if you dare, in Malayalam. I completely messed that up, actually. Mixed up two couplets, but since nobody knows that, I should not even have mentioned it. The next few poems are not poems, really. They're entries from a kind of a self-help manual, a do-it-yourself guide. How to be a toad. Take 3 fresh spores with a dram of rum. Hold it on your tongue for longish moments. Pack all thoughts of gold in a small leather case the size of a sapphire. Tell yourself repeatedly, I will never again be beautiful. How to be a leaf. Hold your breath until you are God's green thoughts. The air will suffice for food. Water is another matter. The eyes adjust, the skin absorbs nutrients, the limbs grow inward. Conjugate patience. Worship women and trees. That was a feminist bit. How to be a horse. Know the nostril, all power gathers there. Inflate yours until the blood rings. It will take all your training to be horse, not ass. This is a thin crossing, perilous to the absent-minded and the estranged of heart. Avoid all latitudes. How to be a crow. Learn to name the animals one by one. Stinking, babbling, greedy, querulous, maddened, jet. Usurp the duties of God. After all, why not? This is what poets do. As for crow, kill color. Turn black, not nigger, black. And finally, how to be a bandicoot, a very large Bombay rat. I don't think you find them in other cities for some strange reason. You do? Okay, well, in Chennai as well, Madras. A very large Madras or Bombay rat. How to be a bandicoot. Assume dominance over the underworld. Your enemies are legion. Eat them. You must build your strength. A crash will surely come. Your eyes are red legends. Your name is Adam. I'm going to end with a poem about marriage, and all I can say is, if you are married, don't listen. And if you're single, listen very carefully. Fool and flee. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to join together this fool and this flea in holy matrimony. Fool will sing, flea will suck, fool will work, flea will pluck, both will learn the virtue of obedience. Fool will give up his freedom, flea will give up whatever chance she may have had at happiness. Both will die, fool first, flea so full she'll burst. Thank you very much. We're going to open this up now for questions for these amazing poets. Over to you.
Does anyone have the mic in the audience with a question?
Thank you. It's good to see. Congrats, Jeet. And here, Tishani, question one. There actually one question to you and to ma'am, and to you and ma'am is related, and to you different. Jeet, there's no question for you. Safe. Tishani, you wrote a poem. Your last poem that you recited was on love, if I'm not mistaken. Ma'am, you spoke about a poem. Your poem was also about love. The second poem, I believe. Every love, right? There was, because the expression was in Hindi, and I'm somehow versed with the language, and your version is a little more modern, more urban. I wanted to understand how, as a poet, how do you transcend from love from a universal thing to making it a more urban figure, or maybe a more contemporary, your viewpoint? How do you do that? And when you're doing it in Hindi, what is the ease of expression when you are talking about love? Means when I heard the English version also, so I just wanted to understand which is easier for you. And ma'am, just one question to ma'am. You said you were not familiar with your language. So you tried the form of ghazal. How difficult was it? Just that. Thank you.
Should I start? Well, you know, I wrote a novel which was a great idealized love story, which was based on my parents. And I grew up with this idea of love and with exploring ideas of love. And I think in poetry, you know, this particular poem, it's called Love Poem, but actually I fondly refer to it as my anti-love poem, because of course it's that thing of getting into a relationship, and before it even has chance to blossom, you are already like counting the days and ruining it for yourself. So it was a sort of comment on, I guess on the speed with which we give up on things. And another of the poems in this book is after the poet Mir. There's it's called Lines to a Lover from a Previous Century. And actually those two poems go together, because that poem, if you read it, it's talking about love in the sense of yearning, in the sense of distance. And you know, so many poems, so many poets have written love poems out of this sense of distance. And as somebody who's living here and now in this generation with technology, with the idea that there is really no tangible distance ever, because you're always within a text message or a Skype call, I'm obviously thinking, how are our love affairs and our relationships of love changing? We don't write letters, we don't have to wait. There is no sense of yearning because we don't have to wait. And so this poem is sort of in response to that.
I'm sorry, I must have been thinking something else. I missed part of your question. Can you please repeat it?
I'm your expression, the expression in Hindi for love, and especially because you wrote love which sounded more like a sonnet, means a love as prescribed in the books, the longing, the yearning. Her version was more urban version, the anti-love thing she talked about was very evident. Yours was the pure, unrequited love. So wanted to understand that, and as a poet who's writing in Hindi and also translating, the version of love that you took, what was the logic behind it, or the reason they thought for behind the whole process of taking that kind of a love, the expression that you had in your poem?
I'm not sure if I still got the question right, but let me articulate it in my own way. I come from Punjab. I come from a place which we can call a place of unrequited loves. And by faith, I'm a Buddhist now, so a constant tussle is there between desire and renunciation, and also the desire to find the perfect love, and ideal love the perfect love is always asking of you the final crossover step. I don't know if I have answered your question. But
Any more questions?
Well, I'll just answer the second
All right,
half of the question. Yes, it's extremely difficult to write in a form in English because Urdu, although I don't understand it as well as I would like to, it lends itself to a playfulness that English does not. So I had to find other ways of being creative. It's almost like a mathematical process. And I don't think I can ever write a ghazal in English. It's as close as I can get to a ghazal in English. So to answer your question, incredibly difficult.
Anyone else?
This is for Jeet. Congratulations. You know for what. Tell us something about your experience of writing poems and the one most particularly intense poem that you've come across and the one you love the most.
It would have to be the collection These Errors Are Correct. I wrote that in 2000, appeared in 2008. I don't ever see myself writing another book of poems because I think that's the best I'm ever going to do. I don't think I can better it or even equal it. And if you can't equal or better, why bother? So I might write the occasional poem, but never again another collection. This is my best shot. You know. And I think of the poems that matter to me the most in that book, I would say it's the poem on the back of the book, which begins with the line, "When it rains, the dead descend."
Never say never, Jeet.
Hello. First, I would like to say thank you very much for these wonderful poems. And my question is, you all are very wonderful poets. And what makes you such a wonderful poet? Did you got?
What makes?
My question is, you all are very wonderful poets, and we really like your poems. And what makes you such a wonderful poet?
I think that's really something you should tell us.
Does anybody have any more questions?
Or
Someone in
not.
front. Right here. First in the front there.
I had a question for Tishani. One of my favorite poems in your book is Sunday Afternoon, and I was wondering if it's precisely what elicits it, and what exactly elicited that poem. And the other one is Another Man's Woman. When I was reading it, for some reason I kept thinking a lot of imagery from Shakuntala, so I was wondering where exactly your trajectory of thought comes
When
from.
I was Sunday Afternoon, which has the title has been changed by my American editor to Cutting Broccoli, but anyway, the content of the poem remains the same. That's just about an idea of, again, you know, the title of the collection is called Everything Begins Elsewhere, and really part of the struggle, I think, with life and living today is this very seductive notion of always wanting to be somewhere else and not quite inhabiting the present moment. And I often feel that in terms of even just as a person living or as a writer, this catch-up game I play with myself. So that poem is a bit of like, you know, the old sort of memories and loves coming to haunt you when you're in doing your mundane thing like making rice for lunch or cutting broccoli or whatever it is, and then sort of coming upon having to deal with the past, as it were, in your present. So that poem is about that. And Another Man's Woman, I think the epigraph is from Jayadeva. And, you know, I was reading a lot of Ramanujan, I was reading a lot of poetry in translation, and I think to say something more about that, you know, we study, at least I did in school, a lot of English poetry and English poets, and part of the thing that we have to do now is to catch up with our own poetry. And so what we do is then read in translation what we should have been taught in school, I feel. And so when I was reading, you know, some of these Urdu and Hindi poets in translation, I felt that there were certain images and certain things that I just wouldn't see in an English poem. And I wanted to bring that into my own work, into my own body of work. So that was an attempt at that.
We're running out of time, so I'm afraid we'll have to pack up. Thank you very much, Tishani, Gagan, Sheniz, and Jeet. Thank you very much.